Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our inconsistent broadcast where today, a local man in a horse mask was seen walking around. He claims to know Japanese fluently, owns 2 samurai swords, and has a photo album of his favorite anime body-sized pillows in his wallet. Despite having a horse mask and being a complete fucking idiot, the man goes by the internet moniker Fox Likes Pancakes. When he was asked to remove the mask, he refused, but gave this short clip in regards to what he was planning to do.
What's up, my fellow white boys? I'm your local man. I'm telling you all about anime.
おはようございます。私はキツネ愛してパンケーキ。
That's all the Japanese and Google Translate I know, so sumimasen if I said something wrong. It's September, baby. Welcome back, one and all, to the channel, and welcome to the channel, both newcomers and the rebranded version of my experience with. So, what's new, you might ask? We got a new title, we got a new PC, we got some shiny new edits, and we got anime titties. And that's about it. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, which I highly doubt you are because you're here on the internet, anime simply refers to the animated works created in Japan. These shows usually deal with fantastical themes, whether that be a character being teleported to another dimension, or an alternate universe where the majority of the human population are born with superhuman features. This isn't always the case, but the less realistic the anime series are, the more popular it seems to become. This is also where I think the majority of the anime's appeal lies, even in more Western cultures. Most more adult-oriented animated TV shows that are seen more commonly in Canada and the US are usually more centered around satire regarding pop culture. Any show that deals with anything outside of realism is either relegated to being a children's show or a darker tone live-action show. To further prove my point, according to IMDb, the most popular animated fantasy TV show is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which clocks in at 17th on the list. It is then shortly followed by the wildly popular anime series Boku no Hero Academia, which reaches 19th most popular overall in the fantasy genre. Other shows that are higher on this list include the likes of Grimm, Game of Thrones, Once Upon a Time and Stranger Things, all of which are much, much darker live-action shows. This isn't to say that anime is entirely exempt from negative comments, however, as series will often use the limitless boundaries of fantasy to make up shit as they go along, while using the character with the biggest tits to distract from poor writing. Wait, how does literally every main character in this series just so happen to have these magical lost artifacts? These magical lost artifacts that just so happen to co-align with their already predetermined special abilities. Why can't there just be one person with the artifact that they're all fighting other? I don't know, but damn, look at those boobs. Woo! It's no secret to anyone that anime can be and often is overly sexualized, at least stereotypically. Last year I was doing some volunteer work in Japan for about 2 months. I was in Edogawachi, which is for the first month, which is outside of downtown Tokyo. On one of my off days, I went to Akihabara, which was what my host claimed was the anime center of Tokyo. I unfortunately don't have any pictures to show you, but there were just these massive billboards all throughout this downtown area of scantily clad, thick anime girls in rather promiscuous poses. This was in Akihabara, Tokyo, in Japan. This wasn't just some odd shop out in the middle of nowhere. This is what was hailed as the anime center of Tokyo. So in short, yes, anime can be very sexual, and because stereotypes are usually determined by the most extreme characters within a demographic, I fully understand how people who have never seen a good anime series may think that anime is just loud noises, overreactions, fundamentally flawless main characters, and boobs. Speaking of loud noises and overreactions, I think that one of the things that tends to get on my nerves the most when it comes to characters, especially animated ones, are when they're irritating to listen to. Again, anime does not do well to escape this stereotype and yet rather tries to run head on into them. An example of a series that I've watched that is guilty of all the negative points that I've made so far is Akame ga Kill. It's not terribly well written, the main protagonist has almost no character flaws aside from being naive, and there's a character who's constantly known for having rather large boobs, and the story gets worse as each episode goes by. First, there's only a few artifacts from this ancient source that people know of, and the main cast has them all somehow. Then it turns out that almost every character they fight has one of these magical weapons because I couldn't really tell you why, but I will tell you what I know. I haven't had nearly as much fun watching an anime as I did watching Akame ga Kill. Yeah, there are loud noises and explosions and anime characters doing that weird anime thing. but it's so over the top that it's actually kind of enjoyable because of how ridiculous it is. Aside from those two major points, I feel like anime gets the short end of the stick when it comes to the reaction of the general Western audience because of the negative stereotypes associated with it. What it does really well is create a fun, animated, more mature television show that isn't as flat and lifeless as the likes of something like, I don't know, Family Guy. This isn't to say that there aren't any popular mature animated shows in Western culture that are well made, but it's no secret that the good ones in Western television are often few and far between. On top of that, there seems to be a distinct lack of Western shows that are almost afraid to tackle the idea of mature fantasy series grounded in a single universe with unique characters, harsh themes, and an interesting story. Take for example the Fate Zero series, where the main character are all these super celestial beings that compete against each other in tandem with a human master to reach the Holy Grail, a mark of complete world domination. Some of the episodes get pretty dark, especially because one of the main characters is literally a child murderer, while another character later on becomes confined to a wheelchair and is eventually executed by pistol shot. In Fate Zero, there are some characters that are highly likable and that offer comedic relief outside of the dark themes. Take Waver and Iskander, for example, who have such contrasting personalities that all of their interactions are comedic. Another example would be the Re:Zero series, where characters are being hunted and some are killed by a bounty hunter that is known for executing people by evisceration. The main character freezes to death in rather gruesome fashion in later episodes. There is one particular scene where one of the characters pulls out a ball and chain and proceeds to murder scores of hellhounds, but at the same time, Rem is just fucking adorable, while Subaru remains to be the clueless idiot that we want to see succeed by the end of the series. My point is that these characters are characters that we like and want to see do well. The closest that I've seen Western television get are the series Once Upon a Time and Game of Thrones, being fantasy themes with slightly more mature audience in mind. But even then, those two I wouldn't personally call very good at being dark and interesting at the same time.
I know that y'all are going to be upset at my opinion on the internet, so I'm going to put it where it belongs.
The main issue that I see in these shows are a lack of character diversity or even remotely likable characters, but to give specific examples for each. Once Upon a Time uses pre-established characters in a very safe and boring setting that leaves them with either no creative license or they become so distant from their characters that they claim to be that the original fairy tale characters are no longer the same as their fairy tale shows them to be. Therefore, all that you really have to tie the character to their original tales are their names, and literally almost nothing else. It's like putting out a sequel to a series that everyone's like, oh yeah, the first one was good, and then everyone realizes that it was just a cash grab with these big names included so that they can create false public interest. Game of Thrones, on the other hand, I can't really bear to watch because it was just a bunch of angry and predictably dull people all trying to see who could scumbag the other. Even then, that didn't really seem to be the main point of the series because making a story off of political dialogue would be fucking boring. Gore and nudity is so prevalent throughout the series that becomes the main plotline, and in the end, Game of Thrones is no longer a story of an interesting, fantastical quest of family rivalry, but rather a competition of who's going to die the worst death by the end of the season. Not all anime series are good either, though, like I've said before. They're like any other TV show in the sense that they can either do really well or completely fall flat on their face in their delivery. The only difference being that you and I probably can't understand them fully without a subtitles or a dub of the anime in our own language. The problem arises when people from the fanbase become obsessively attached to their anime waifus to the point where they just won't shut the fuck up about it, or when it's about something that becomes a sexual fantasy. Yeah, that's a bit weird, but I'll even admit that Leon is pretty thick Rema's waifu material because she's fucking adorable, and that Saber can be pretty hot if she wants to be. At the end of the day, though, they're cartoon characters. Why would you want to fuck with a cartoon character? It makes no sense. If it wasn't clear from this whole review of anime, I very much enjoy most of the series that I've seen so far. If you're interested in checking out some anime series, I suggest Re:Zero, Akame ga Kill, even if it doesn't have the best writing, Boku no Hero Academia, and Fate Zero or Fate Stay Night, and avoid Sword Art Online and only watch if highly curious. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for your patience on this, and thanks for your support over the summer. I'll try to get out new videos as quickly as possible, and perhaps I'll even catch some of you while I'm streaming too. This has been your local man reviewing anime, and I hope you have a great day, night, or space cycle depending on when and where you watch this video. And remember, your waifu isn't real. Goodbye.